Hey Allison, I really I'm liking your design here. So some quick suggestions. I think that the hierarchy of design is working pretty well. I can see Harbor Trails Brewfest is kind of the main thing that I'm drawn to at first, which is great. And then probably next, my eye wants to go here, and then maybe travel up. These little I don't know, triangles take me up here. So I kind of think in this area, the price is actually not as important as the date and time and location. I think you're missing the location, which is Pepin Park in Havre, Montana. So you may need to add that in along with this information and maybe put it here somewhere. You might have to shrink down some things or move things down to fit that in. And then, like, some of this could potentially go here, or here, and that could go up here, potentially. So I know that this red dot is a focal point, but I do think it actually gets a little bit dwarfed by this shape here. So, and I'm thinking this is a little bit better spot for some of the prominent information, such as this, and the location. Everything else, I really like the beer bubbles that you got going on here. Maybe you could try mixing it up with some green in the mountains, potentially. I like the blue, but there's a whole lot more blue here than any other color, which is fine, but maybe just try the, maybe breaking up this square, which you might have been planning on doing anyway. Another thing is I would move this up a little bit. It's just too close to the line. I would just center it inside of there, and I would make the leading, the space between the lines, wider, just because they are a little bit like together. We want to kind of make it a little bit more, and that might mean you have to bring it to a smaller size potentially, but just so long as you're fitting that in there. And you could say thank you to our sponsors. Potentially it would just shorten it up a little bit and just maybe move it down just a touch, because it is a little close. And I think this would probably be enough room. I would say shrink down the Havre Trails logo a little bit inside that box too, because it is a little bit tight on the sides, especially a little bit too tight, I would say. So just shrinking that down, and then also making sure that this border on the side here, the black part, is the same width throughout your design. I see a little area here that maybe isn't connecting, but I'm sure you can fix that. But I would just make sure that those are all the same width, and we can check that in InDesign. I think I probably have your version of InDesign. This is just, okay, here we go. So, let's see here. Let's see, we've got, all right, and we can also change this. I'm kind of used to viewing things where they're not facing pages, so we can uncheck that. And then we can have them all, because it gets a little too much when they're next to each other sometimes. So if we uncheck the facing pages when we're on the black arrow tool in the properties panel, that helps a little bit. Let's see, what am I doing here? I don't know what I just did, but okay, so let's see. Let's go back to number 3 here. I can get in here. Yeah, you did a really good job. This is more like way more rough draft than thumbnail, I would say. Another small detail is this would have to be, centered inside of the box kind of thing. Yeah, just that this red dot just needs to be centered. But so some of these we can see. Let's see. Okay, so that's actually the square you have there. This one might need to be arranged, brought to front, bring to front maybe. And we just want to make sure that they're all the same size, obviously. So we can see the height of this one is 0.3332, so we can Command C that, and we can just, bring that, which I think you actually do have on most of these. Maybe they just needed to be arranged, brought to front kind of thing. So yeah, just going through and making sure this one's a little bit thicker. Maybe you wanted that a little bit thicker, although, yeah, I would try making all of these roughly the same width. Oops. You can just push return on your keyboard, and then yeah, just moving this up a little bit. This might need to be more. There's a couple different things going on here. Yeah, and you can group things together too, if that helps. I don't know if you have layers. Nope, that's okay. Sometimes I don't work with layers either, but you know, maybe try grouping some of the stuff so that it's easier for you to move around a little bit. You know, and this might be something that we can bring down in size a little bit, just so it fits in that box a little bit nicer. There we go. And then center it inside the box a little bit more, you know. Maybe just shorten this up a little bit. I always try to keep the extra text as short as possible just because it always cleans up the design a little bit. So if we use the white arrow tool on this, we can just grab it and then we can just push shift and, oops, let's see, that's not right. Yeah, push shift and bring it down in size and then center it with the white arrow tool. We have the hand, which is, you know, not the best always, but for this purpose it is. And then we can switch back over to the black arrow tool and we can see the size of the box that it's in, and we can actually put a fill color on that box to change the background of that to white. So you can take the white arrow tool, shrink down this, what is it? It's an AI file maybe? Oops. What is it? Oh, it's an maybe you didn't bring it in. Maybe you copy pasted it from Illustrator. I'm not sure. It's not showing up in the links for some reason. So maybe it was, I'm not quite sure why that's not showing up in the links. But anyway, these two are, but okay, so yeah, just making sure all of these are the same size throughout, and that everything's matching up okay. I noticed this one was a little bit, you know, short. So just small things like that, I'm sure you can get around to. And this might be a different fill color too. It's looking a little different to me. Probably just want to use black on that. This box isn't quite lining up with that box. Just things like that that you can always, you know, go and fix. And obviously you don't want these little things poking out either. And like, yeah, if you want to fill this in, you know, you could always, you know, add a line with maybe even the pen tool, you know, just to continue it. I can't see now because this isn't there. But, you know, maybe something like this. And they can always be adjusted later, obviously, with the white arrow tool, but we could, you know, maybe sample one of these greens. And put that. Still keep the black outline, probably, because you've got that going on a lot of the graphics, obviously. Oops. So yeah, I mean, that would have to be adjusted, but, and this might have to be, all of this might need to be like, so if we click and drag over all of this and then we click and drag again, pushing shift, I can get most of this and push shift and click on that. I can get most of the things selected that I want to get selected and bring them all to the front with arrange, bring to front. And then I can push shift and actually, I'm on a black arrow tool, and I can deselect these items because maybe I don't want to shrink down these little dots. And there is a ring around them too, so sometimes you have to click more than one time. And then maybe we'll just do this. Pushing, oops, I'm missing a chunk, which is not ideal. But we want to group that together, maybe size that down a little bit. You know, obviously want to adjust this as well, but just for the sake of time. And then maybe we would move this down, you know, which means we'd have to use the white arrow tool to, like, you know, adjust this, pushing shift so that it turns white and opens up. Sometimes it just moves without having to mess around with it too much, but sometimes you have to push shift, and it might be helpful to actually make, instead of having like a black square behind here, just delete that altogether and then add in, you know, borders like this, that like you have around here, all the way around, instead of having the black square beneath, potentially. And then this is where you can put some more prominent information in larger, potentially, size. You might have to delete a couple of these little guys, but and I'm not saying I love the green behind there, but something to experiment with it anyway. But yeah, something like that. Hopefully this isn't too long of a feedback video. You've done really well. I like all of them. I do like this one too. Like I said, I really like this background that you put on there. And this graphic is nice. I would fill it in white if you did go with this. I would fill in to create a little bit more depth, and maybe a prairie scene instead. But yeah, I really do like this one. And maybe even fill in white on the Brewfest text. Just a bright white, so it pops off a little bit differently. And you know, maybe putting this up here potentially, just to save a little bit of space, and maybe it would be like, oops, let's see, maybe that would be like, you know, there, and the white, let's see, use the free transform tool and just make it a little bit bigger maybe. It could be potentially cut off too. I mean, we don't necessarily have to have the walk bike run on there. And then you could have this over top of it potentially. I kind of like doing stuff with this logo, like having a line behind it, like a box of white, maybe like a bright white color. You know, potentially, and then grabbing that, and bringing it forward, and then grabbing this and bringing it forward, and then maybe using the white arrow tool to, actually no, doing this so that it fits inside that white, you know, that we brought in, and then, you know, maybe having this come all the way down. Oops. As a graphic, that's kind of, you know, let's see, just move this. Obviously bringing some of that other stuff forward too. But yeah, maybe some kind of placement like that. And I like how you did the Pep and Park thing here too, so that looks great. Anyway, this is going a little long, so great job, Allison. We'll talk to you later.